Well, speaking of censorship, it's happened again. Presidential candidate RFK Jr. is saying YouTube has now taken down a second interview that he was featured in. RFK Jr. putting giant tech corporations on blast in a Twitter thread. He's wondering why everyone is making, quote, a big deal about Russia supposedly manipulating internet information to influence a presidential election, but not when giant tech corporations do the same. Just last week, you may remember, YouTube removed an interview between RFK Jr. and Jordan Peterson. It was later reposted to the Jordan B. Peterson podcast. So is he being signaled out? And what is going on with censorship? Joining us to discuss the silencing now is Professor of Medicine at Stanford University, Dr. Jay Bhattacharya, and also alongside him, Dr. Frank Contachessa, an internist with Custom Care Medical. Welcome to you both.
Hey, guys.
Thank you, Bianca.
So, Dr. Bhattacharya, we've talked before about when you basically were shut down on Twitter, so you know what censorship is like. Twitter files, in fact, revealed that you were silenced in that initial first installment by Matt Taibbi. After hearing our national correspondent Logan Raddick's report on CISA trying to cover up basically censorship by the big tech companies, what's your take on that? I mean, here we go again, but just kind of in a much larger scenario.
So I've been a party to a lawsuit brought by the Missouri and Louisiana Attorney General's office against the Biden administration. What we've discovered is a vast censorship regime. And CISA is one major cog in that, but it's not the only one. We have emails from the White House directly ordering Facebook to censor ideas, people. It's a direct, obvious violation of the American First Amendment, where the government is telling Twitter and all these social media companies what they can publish, who they can publish, and who to censor. And it's not in the service of misinformation. It's in the service of propaganda, right? So you couldn't say for a long time that the vaccine doesn't stop you from getting COVID, a true fact, or that the mask mandates don't work, or that natural immunity is actually has a lot of a lot of good evidence behind. All of those things would get you censored. True facts, because they were inconvenient to the government narrative. That is it should shock every American that the American government is doing this.
Well, it certainly does, I think, and the lawsuit obviously will be interesting to see how it plays out. Obviously, the wheels of justice move slow and not, in the time for people who maybe want and need information. But you talked about a censorship machine. It sounds like, well, RFK Jr., he's running up against it. He's running against Joe Biden as a Democrat. But The Atlantic, guys, has a new piece out, maybe coining a new term or attempting to, MAGA Democrat. Yes, they're saying he's feeding Americans' appetite for conspiracies, writing, his supporters include free-thinking celebrities. Ooh, how dangerous. And Democrats concerned about Joe Biden's age. How dare you, right? I know this shirtless video went viral of him last week on Venice Beach. 10 million views, 69 years old. But Dr. Frank, maybe being a MAGA Democrat isn't a bad thing if you're healthy like this at his age. Your take on perhaps a little bit of a smear campaign, because RFK is speaking some things that people are interested in.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first of all, I hope that I look like him when I'm 69 years old, and certainly something's working for him. I actually listened to his whole podcast with Joe Rogan just over the weekend, the whole 3 hours of it. He has some interesting ideas. Now, I don't know if he's right about everything that he speaks, but it's worth looking into. And the problem is that he's been smeared as a conspiracy theorist and an anti-vaxxer, where, some of his ideas are go against the orthodoxy, but some of them are worth looking into. He has data to back up a lot of what he says. And I think he merits further investigation. We should give him the freedom to speak his mind. And then we as people and as a scientific community should have the option to then vet what he says.
Getting away from a shirtless RFK Jr. and his Venice Beach workout for a minute here, because we've certainly seen enough of that, I think.
Some of the ladies enjoy it. I don't know. Some of the viewers were very...
I don't know about that. But Dr. Bhattacharya, Dr. Anthony Fauci has embarked on a new career as a professor at Georgetown University. I want to get your thoughts on this. So starting next week, Mr. Fauci will be a professor at the School of Medicine in the Division of Infectious Diseases. He'll also work in the McCourt School of Public Policy. In a statement on Monday, Fauci said that, quote, "This is a natural extension of my scientific, clinical, and public health career, which was initially grounded from my high school and college days where I was exposed to intellectual rigor, integrity, and service-mindedness of Jesuit institutions." Late August, as we know, Fauci left his federal government job, not really getting into and specifying his next steps. Well, now we know what it is. Former President Trump, as we know, called him a disaster, and we know about Fauci's ties to the Wuhan Institute of Virology, the money that he helped secure for EcoHealth Alliance when he was with the NIAID. Is this a good move by Georgetown, Doctor, or even by Dr. Fauci? And is it a good thing for students at Georgetown?
I mean, I think Georgetown is certainly a great institution, but here I think what you have is it's not so much that he may have done things that people disagreed with. That happens all the time, and that's not a bar to having someone as a professor. The problem I have here is that he directly lied to the American people over and over again, and admitted that he lied about whether masks work, for instance, about herd immunity thresholds, about whether COVID immunity after COVID recovery was actually a real thing. Over and over again, he admitted to lying to the American people. And it's not like it wasn't subtle. He just said that he did it in order to manipulate you into doing things he wanted you to do. When you are a university professor at Georgetown, there's a degree of ethics that you have to convey to your students. And I wonder whether Georgetown has really thought through what picture they're sending to their students when they hire someone who's as ethically challenged as Dr. Fauci is.
Well, yeah, we'll see what Georgetown has to say. Haven't heard much from the university at this point, but I bet there'll be a little bit of blowback on that. Dr. J, Dr. Frank, appreciate your insight. Thank you. Good to see you.
Thank you both.